All right, how's it going? I'm gonna try to explain everything within my room right now. That's because a lot of people are like, why do you have so many papers in your room? Like you can probably see around me, there's just a bunch of papers. So I'll try to show you some of my favorites and why I put them there and how they might help you. So let me start with the first one, which is this one right here. It's called The Process right here, The Process for Anything. And I think this is one of my favorites because I saw this in a video by Y Combinator, which is pretty much this company that, it gives money to companies that it thinks that will do good. So it's pretty much like an investing company. And pretty much what it described here was how every company functions. So what happens here is this axis right here can stand for this: days, minutes, months, units of time, right? It's just in general units of time. So this could be 1 day, this could be 1 minute, 1 year, 1 decade, right? And this right here on this side, it says learning slash enthusiasm slash results. So let's kind of see it from a business perspective, right? So let's say these right here are years. So these are years and years of time. So 1 year, 2 year, 3, right? And then this would be enthusiasm in running the business. So here's how it goes, right? When you first start a business, this is day zero. You decide to start the business. For the first year, you're excited. You think, you have this beginner enthusiasm. You have the beginner gains or the proof, the peak of like initial growth. You're like, oh, like you've never seen results before. So even when you have a little bit of results, you're like, oh, this is like amazing, right? Like I've never seen results before. And then, you start learning new things and your income kind of just stays the same. There's nothing new. The novelty's kind of wearing off and you're just learning new things. And then you end up here. This usually starts around year 2. Year 2 is when you're in the trenches. This is where you have to kind of sit there and do all the work. This is where you kind of sit and you're like, okay, where do I start? Where do I go from here? And sadly enough, this is where 90% of people quit. This is literally, like I wrote right here, most give up here, right here, right? Because this right here is the worst. You have minimal enthusiasm and you have to deal with it for 1, 2, 3 years. Now keep in mind, it's not the same for everything, right? Of course, it could be different with like different businesses or all that stuff, but you're pretty much dealing with this minimal or just bland enthusiasm, nothing new, no results. You're just learning, you're sitting there and it's just sad. And, I feel bad for all the people who quit around here because they really don't get results. And if the 90% quit here, 90% of those 10% that lasted quit right here. And this is guaranteed. Around maybe the 3rd, 4th year, you see a dip. You see a dip. Like literally your enthusiasm drops, either because you could be losing money or your family's like, oh, it's not working. People around you like, oh, it's not working. It's called the crash of ineptitude right there. And this is where a lot of people quit. But what's interesting is right after this, there's nowhere else to go except up. Once you've reached such a low point, you start seeing a bit more results. And interestingly, 5 years in, it's guaranteed that you start getting results. And so this is where you start kind of climbing up a bit and you reach back to baseline where you were before. Now keep in mind, most people have already quit here. And if you're here at this point already, then you're probably ahead of literally 99% of people. When you're in this stage, I think this is the most crucial right here, this where my fingers are. If you're in this stage, which you probably are right now, do not quit. Do not. I'll explain why later. So you kind of go up here and you start rising up a bit. You start seeing a bit more profit. Maybe you have a bit more enthusiasm because you start seeing more money come in. It's around 5th, 6th year, right? A little bit time in. And these are called the wiggles of hope. And you see some visible improvement, like money goes up. And it's kind of like bouncing up and down. Like, okay, let's say 2K, 1.5K, 2K, 1.5, 1.3, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 3,000. And then it's just kind of like slowly improving. And keep in mind, these are literally spans of years. So 5th to 6th year, you see a bit more money coming in, all that stuff. And then halfway through 6 to 7, it kind of goes up and then, it goes down, but you're still pushing through. And right here is the turning point. This is called, in most businesses, best market fit. Or in French and learning languages, memorizing concepts. And this is where most people want to be. It's the promised land. It's where all the results come in. And that's why the graph just goes all the way up. And this is where you stop measuring because you don't care about enthusiasm at this point. Now keep in mind, this is not just for businesses, right? This is for literally anything. So I wrote here, sorry, my shadow's covering. Memorizing concepts. Like, that's one of them. And that's for language learning, right? For example, here, I'll give a language learning example. So in the start, you learn, let's talk about French. In the start, you learn a bunch of new words. You're like, oh, bonjour, oh, merci, like all that kind of stuff, right? Whatever else words that I forgot. And, you know, then you go back down this trough of like learning. And this is where you're in the trenches again, right? You're learning these new words, you're not really making progress. And then it's just like, oh, I'm not really learning. Again, this is not years, right? This is probably months. So first 2 months in, you're like, oh yeah, like, okay, I learned a few words, merci, bonjour, all that kind of stuff. And you're going through learning new stuff. And it's like, oh, this is getting a little boring. Like, I kind of don't want to do this. And then you start forming a few more sentences, like, comment ça va, ça va bien, et toi, right? And then it goes up a bit. You know, you see a bit more improvement. You get your sentences together. Maybe you can speak to a native a little bit. And then you just reach fluency, right? This works for literally anything. Working out gains, right? Initial enthusiasm drops, you see no results, is where most people quit, and then they start seeing a bit more gains, and then it just becomes a habit. Then you see all the gains coming at once. Literally anything. This is why this is one of my favorites out of this entire wall. So yeah, I think this is really important for people to understand, because most of the time they're here and they don't know it. And this is the hardest part for anyone, any entrepreneur, anyone who's trying to build muscle, lose fat. This is really important. And so yeah, that's why this is literally one of my favorites right here. And you know, I have a bunch of other ones here. Like, I'll kind of go over to what I have here. So I wrote, these are all supplements. This is something I wrote a while back. These are all supplements to take. So I don't even take half of these, I'll be honest. I take like vitamin D, I eat some Brazil nuts, I drink water. I don't really care about this much anymore, but yeah, it's just there, right? I do some of these, right? I do creatine, fruits, milk as like a workout shake sometimes. It's not too crazy, but you know, if you like it, I guess go for it. Like here, I take water. I used to take this, stopped. Ashwagandha. Yeah, it's just not too much here. These used to be like before. This is my workout warm-up. This is just the warm-up. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of old and I don't really do, but this one's also something that a lot of people question. Why you just have good on your wall? Got this from Jocko Willink. Jocko Willink says good to pretty much anything. So for example, if I'm like, oh, I don't know, I died, I broke a leg, good. Why would you say good to that? Well, it's because you can turn that into a positive situation, right? If I say good to everything, I have to find a way to turn it into a positive situation. Like, oh, the guy just stubbed my toe on this bed, right? Whoops, stubbed my toe on the bed. Oops. Right, I'm walking and, ow, right? Okay, good. How can I turn that into a good situation? Well, now I know that I have to be more careful around this corner, so next time I can avoid it and go around, right? That's how you turn it into a good situation. And so you can do that to pretty much anything. This is kind of like the core tenet of Stoicism, which is you can turn any situation you want into your own favor. You can make it good or you can make it bad. You choose your own reaction to anything. I think that is like a big one right there, good. It's like the biggest characterization of Stoicism. And yeah, I just think that's like crucial for anyone to understand. You get to control your reactions to the outcomes, but not the outcomes themselves. And so I'll kind of enter the social corner here. This is where it's literally social. This is my favorite. The social. Be the gorilla. When you think of a gorilla, what do you think of? Think of a big, confident guy who can just go anywhere and pretty much do anything, right? He just doesn't care about what's going on. He's big, you know, he's like the alpha. That was my idea back then. But, you know, now it's more like, okay, be confident. Just be happy where you go. Be present, right? Be the big one there. Be helping people out, protect them, all that kind of stuff. That's what be the gorilla means. And here, sometimes I struggle with social life, so I kind of wrote this on my wall too. Presence, warmth, empathy. This is all you need to build a good friendship, relationship, anything. This is like the Pareto's 80%, Pareto's 20% that makes 80% of the results. If you have these three, you can run any good relationship. And then here I have like smaller rules, like, okay, become genuinely interested. You know, this is just how to win friends and influence people if you read it. And this is just personal stuff. I guess you can read it if you want. I'll like kind of pause there. General language / body language, right? Stuff like that. And honestly speaking, maybe I follow it like 50% of the time. Other than that, it's just like there. So I'm just looking at my hair right here. So yeah, pretty much most of the stuff in this wall I wrote like 2 years ago, and I just kind of put it up for my own mind, and most of it has kind of become like second nature, which is why I don't care much about it anymore. So for example, here, this one's also one of my favorite right here. I got it from Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Offers. Amazing guy. It's one of my favorites so far. And he talks about value. And because we make videos and all that, right? I'm always trying to figure out value. How can I provide more value to the viewer? And so this is literally the value equation. And I sat there, I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, this is perfect. And this is what he wrote himself. I literally copied it like word for word. So it was dream outcome multiplied by, you can probably read it, multiplied that by this and divided by time delay and effort and sacrifice. So if you know how math works, you know that if this bottom part is 0, this will automatically be infinite. And that's why I wrote here, increase the blue and decrease the green. So in a theoretical world, if you made these two 0, your value will literally be infinite, because anything divided by 0 is pretty much infinite. Even if you make this like 1, right? If you make this 1 on some kind of imaginary unit scale, this would be really high. If you make this 2, this is 50% cut in half. Although like it's not a literal representation of value, it's still pretty close to what I think is real. Because if you can give these to people, so for example, let me give the idea of the workout pill, right? You give someone a pill, they lose all the fat, they gain all the muscle. So you get the dream outcome, right? You get the dream outcome of having your body, right? People really want that. Let's say that's a 100. The perceived likelihood of achievement. If you take a pill, you'll get the outcome. Now to show this to people, be like, oh, here's 10 people that took it, and here's how they got the outcome, right? People will believe you. And you divide it by time delay. Let's say right after you take the pill, you get a 6-pack, right? Time delay is 0. 0 times anything is 0. There's no effort and sacrifice in taking a pill. Literally pop it in your mouth, right? Just put it in there and drink some water. Not cologne, drink water. And so once you do that, you have infinite value. And that's why the workout pill will sell a lot. People really value that business high. That business will make a lot of money because they've maximized their value. Now, let's say working out, right? Working out is horrible value. You get your dream outcome, sure, and you have a perceived likelihood of achievement. Like if you work out, of course you'll get muscle. But the problem is it takes a really long time, and it takes a lot of effort and sacrifice. Sacrificing your chips, sacrificing your, I don't know, snacks, midday cake, right, whatever. And then here, time delay, it takes like maybe 6 months to a year to even see results. A lot of effort. So all of a sudden, the bottom part of the equation has increased, which is not what we want. And the top part stay the same as a workout, right? You still get your dream body, you still get the perceived likelihood of achievement, but because this bottom part is increased, right, the whole value equation goes down by a lot. And so that's why working out is not really, it's not too valuable to people. To put this in another perspective, let's take vitamin D3, right? Literally right here. So if I wanted the dream outcome, which is I want the benefits of vitamin D3, times the perceived likelihood of achievement, which, okay, if you take vitamin D3, studies show it will improve you, right? This is pretty high, right? Time delay though, it does take a while to get the results. That's why a lot of people stop taking supplements really quickly, because they're like, oh, I don't see any effect. Even though there's almost no effort and sacrifice, just pop a pill, it takes a really long time to get the results, which is why the value of vitamin D3 is so low. Even though it does really help people, there's a dream outcome, there's a perceived likelihood of achievement. A lot of people don't do it simply because it takes so long to get the results. That's kind of the value equation. I think it's valuable in videos and business and pretty much anything. If you can learn this, you'll always do good in business. And then here I have this one, breakdown or breakthrough. One of my favorites as well. Well, I just said everything's my favorite. There's a reason it's on my wall. So breakdown or breakthrough is, sometimes I feel like my life can be erratic. Sometimes I make it erratic on purpose. And in order to kind of deal with it, I have this on my wall, literally right in front of where I sit. It's, am I breaking down, right? Am I just out of control? Or am I figuring out something new? It's pretty basic, pretty simple, but it's a good reminder to know that sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, right? And then actually, there's some on my roof. Oh, let me turn it this way. Some on my roof. This is, my bed used to be on this side, but it's literally on my roof. And yeah, it's just, sometimes I'd just lay in my bed and just do nothing. And sometimes I just read this because they're just motivational. Got this from books and all that. So like right there I said, this moment is not your life, but a moment in your life, how you use it. Oh God. And then I said, every man has two lives, second starts when he realizes he only has one. Just a bunch of stuff about death. I'll die one day. It's pretty simple, pretty cliche, but it's really good advice. And that's kind of the big ones. I mean, I have this, it's written in Latin. It's remember death, and I forgot that one. So clearly that one wasn't important. This is remember death. I have a lot of stuff about death. And then here I wrote love or death, I believe. Life or love, something like that. And it's basically, would you rather live a good life or would you rather love everyone else? And so, yeah, that's pretty much my entire wall. I mean, there's nothing else that's important. All these small ones are just like, oh, here's how to learn. Here's notes protocol, how to take notes in class when at school. So if you want to see that, I guess you can. I got this from Tim Ferriss's book, 4 Hour Chef. Just how to take notes effectively, and then what to do if I don't feel like working. YouTube visualization, perfect self visualization. I only do this one now. It's just, not much other than that. Yeah. I mean, I think these papers really help out. It's really good to know that you have something you can look around in your room where you spend most of your day. And it's just really motivational. Sometimes you're feeling down. Sometimes it's just you're working on something and you don't see the results yet. And you're like, oh, I want to see results. And I'll tell you, they'll come one day. You just need to wait. That's really it. And then have these papers around you to keep you going. Here I have some of my goals that I set. You can probably see them. This was back in October 20th, 2021. And so I pretty much got all of these. These are habits I developed. These are the goals I hit. Just keep them on my wall to remind myself I can hit goals. My goals are over there. I'm not going to show you them, but those are my current goals. I don't show people my goals. But yeah, that's that. Okay, cool. So that's my wall.